Hello, everyone. Thank you for taking time out of your day to join us. I am pleased to welcome you all to the Happy Wellness webinar, Flashes, Flushes, Brain Fog, Oh My, Natural Support for Perimenopause, presented to you by Dr. Nina Manapon. I have the prestige honor of introducing you all to Dr. Manapon. Dr. Nina Manapon graduated from the Southwest College of Naturopathic Medicine in Tempe, Arizona, with a doctorate of Naturopathic Medicine. She also completed a general family practice residency at the University of Bridgeport's Naturopathic Medical School Clinic, where she focused on women's health. She is currently adjunct faculty at the University of Bridgeport's College of Naturopathic Medicine and the owner of Revitalized Wellness Center, with offices located in Hawthorne, New Jersey and Stamford, Connecticut. She is a member of the American Association of Naturopathic Physicians and the Connecticut Naturopathic Physicians Association. Her focus is on whole wellness through health promotion and disease prevention, which is rooted in finding the underlying cause of the condition. Her goal is to provide individualized therapies that help facilitate the body's inherent ability to restore and maintain optimal health. I would like to remind all listeners that this webinar is being recorded, and we will email you a copy at the end. If you have any questions during today's webinar, please enter your questions into the questions box. At the end of the webinar, we will try to answer as many of those questions as possible. At this time, I would like to turn the presentation over to Dr. Manapon. And again, thank you for joining us today.
All right, well, thanks so much, Dr. Wolf, for that introduction. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Dr. Nina Manapon, and thanks for joining me today. I want to thank LuckyVitamin and Dr. Jeremy Wolf, who is one of my colleagues, for giving me the opportunity to talk today. So here's some learning objectives that we have. Perimenopause, what it is, factors that bring it on earlier, and the hormonal changes that take place, symptoms, the natural approaches to common symptoms, endocrine disruptors, what they are and effect on perimenopause, and common ways to avoid endocrine disruptors. So what is perimenopause? Peri means between, and menopause is not having a period for 12 months. It occurs in women between the ages of 4 to 51, and the average age is right around 47 and a half, and it can last for about 4 years. People often call it the menopause transition, and symptoms vary for many women. Some women can have hot flashes, breast tenderness, insomnia, and headache, while other women won't be as sensitive to these hormonal changes. How many of you have ever felt this way? This is like an emotional roller coaster. What happens here, perimenopause is a big life event because your body goes through so many changes. It's more of the loops in the back as opposed to that big jump and then drop down. Some women even call it puberty in reverse. And mainly because, very much like a roller coaster, this started with puberty and your body's going through yet another change. What changes should you be aware of? Again, this is 4 to 8 years of irregular periods, and some may be shorter, or you may feel like you're having your period all the time. There can also be skipped cycles. Some of my patients even say, my last period was 6 months, and I hope it doesn't come back. And definitely some more seeing PMS symptoms. So you'll start to experience some physical, mental, and emotional symptoms. So here's a chart of a normal menstrual cycle. So a normal cycle is right around 28 days. And an irregular cycle is going to be less than 4 days. So definitely we're starting to have shorter or longer times between your periods. This can be one of the first signs of menopause in women. And here's just a timeline that I took from Dr. Christiane Northrup's book. You'll notice here that the perimenopause timeline again can go from 40 to right around 60 to around 55. And you'll notice some irregular periods and mood swings in the early 40s, and some hot flashes and night sweats between right around 47 and a half to 52. And then some other symptoms come along with perimenopause as well. You want to make sure that you talk to your doctor. Trust yourself. Many ladies out there, you know when your body's off and you're not feeling well, and don't dismiss any of these symptoms. Whether you have heavy, prolonged menstrual bleeding, or you have spotting between periods or after sex and intercourse. This is a natural part of your life, but you want to make sure that this isn't more than what is. Almost like when you're at the airport and TSA has signs everywhere that say something, see something, say something. If you feel something, you want to make sure you talk to your doctor. We're very intuitive when it comes to our bodies, so just make sure you pay attention to that. So here are some factors that can bring perimenopause on sooner. If you're older, if you've never been pregnant, which is also known as nulliparity, exposure to toxic chemicals, which we'll talk about later on, if you have a history of heart disease, pelvic surgery, and also depression. Perimenopause will also increase your risk of heart disease, cancer, and osteoporosis, which is another reason why you want to continue to see your doctor for yearly checkups and also for yearly work as well. Okay, so what's happening to your body? Think of this as your ovaries winding down for retirement. The number of ovarian eggs that you have actually decreases. And like we talked about earlier, your menstrual cycle will start to change and shorten. So progesterone is actually one of the first hormones to drop, along with estradiol and testosterone, and SSH, which stands for follicular stimulating hormone. This actually starts to increase. And so sometimes some doctors will run some blood work, and an increase in SSH, this will be one of the first signs that your reproductive system is starting to age. What's also going on in your body is that as we increase in age, your metabolism starts to slow down. You start to gain weight, and you notice a little bit of a pouch of fat right in your midsection. And this pouch, believe it or not, is actually that your body is protecting you because your estrogen levels are dropping. But on the other side of this pouch can also increase your risk of heart disease, diabetes, and cancer. So just to give you an example, so if you're in your 40s and if you're exercising and you want to maintain your weight, you need right around 2,000 calories a day. So in your 50s, that'll decrease to right around 1,800 calories a day to maintain that weight. So ladies, do any of these pictures look like you? And how many of you may need to carry around a personal fan with you, or stand by an open window, or a door when you have a hot flash? So here are some symptoms of perimenopause: hot flashes, sweating, cognitive impairment, also known as brain fog, insomnia, depression, decreased sexual dysfunction, menstrual irregularities. And this one didn't get any worse. You also have vaginal dryness, mood swings, hair growth, nausea, and headaches. Some may even say they need to sign a warning sign that says for their mood swings to safe distance because the swing is about to come in about 5 minutes for their loved one. So here are some natural approaches to perimenopausal symptoms that we'll be talking about. So hot flashes. This is what happens when they occur at night. You can think of it as, in a more positive way, to think of it as a power surge. So hot flashes, night sweats, these are called vasomotor symptoms. And the physiological thought process behind this is it's because of the sudden changes that are going on with the decrease of estrogen levels and the increase in SSH, the follicular stimulating hormone, which we mentioned earlier. Here's something that you can do to help with the hot flashes, excuse me. Lightweight bedding, putting a fan on in the bedroom, wearing lightweight cotton pajamas, keeping a damp washcloth to cool your face at your bedside, and keeping pets out of the bed because they may give off some heat. It's a funny commercial on the side here. I think it's Maxine, and she says, if I plan it just right, one hot flash can defrost the whole car. Black cohosh has been researched. It may be able to help with hot flashes. You also want to pay attention to your diet during this time frame, especially perimenopausal age. Decreasing your sugars and refined carbohydrates, as well as increasing flax seeds and even organic soybean products. There is some mixed studies on soy products, but we could talk about that later on too. Okay, irregular periods. You definitely want to rule out pregnancy here. Many women think that because they no longer have regular periods that they can't get pregnant, but that's actually false because you're still ovulating. You definitely want to rule out pregnancy, and Chase Tree may be able to help normalize and regulate your periods. Mood changes. So it's definitely a ripple effect that you'll find here when you're having hot flashes that's causing you a sleep disturbance, you can't sleep at night, and then you're moody. And then this is just a vicious cycle that continues to happen. So some of the things that you could do to help it is by eating 3 meals a day, which includes whole grains, vegetables, nuts, and seeds, and definitely not getting hypoglycemic, or what some people have termed it as calling hangry, right? You're hungry and angry at the same time. Exercise will definitely help your mood, and St. John's wort and black cohosh, again, may be able to help with those mood changes and hot flashes. Forgetfulness or brain fog. So what happens here is when our bodies have less estrogen and progesterone, our brain feels it, and it can become much more sensitive. So this causes changes to our brain chemistry and how we think, feel, and how we see ourselves in the world. Some things that may be able to help with forgetfulness and brain fog: green tea, because of the caffeine component, ginkgo biloba. If you verbalize new facts out loud, I have some patients that tell me they'll walk in and out of a room constantly until they can remember what it is that they went into the room for initially. CoQ10, acupuncture has really great points for brain fog and forgetfulness and for memory. And again, really making sure you're exercising 30 minutes a day, whether that's walking, swimming, or simple things like parking the car farther away from where you're supposed to be just to get in the extra exercise. And here are some sleep hygiene tips. You want to, again, make sure you're going to exercise on a regular basis. Get your thyroid checked, specifically during this time period. You want to make sure that the symptoms that you're having aren't caused because of an underlying thyroid condition. You want to avoid caffeine, alcohol, and nicotine, because caffeine, even if you've had it 10 to 12 hours before bed, can still affect your sleep. You also want to keep your bedroom cool and dark, and you want to only use your bed for sleep and sex. That means you don't want to read in bed or have your Nook or your iPad or computer out, because that's definitely going to disrupt how you think of sleep and how you think of when you're in your bed. And avoid heavy meals in the evening, and even meditation. Something as simple as tensing up certain areas of your body and then slowly releasing them. And breathing exercise helps this as well. Vaginal dryness, again, this is because of the decrease in estrogen, which is a common side effect. And vitamin E suppositories may be able to help here, as well as water-based lubricants. And lately I've been noticing more patients are trying coconut oil, so those are all things that you may be able to try. So let's just talk about toxins for a second here. Toxins are definitely endocrine disruptors, and toxins are everywhere. It's in the air that we breathe, the food that we eat, the water we drink, medications we take. You can find toxins in plastics and pesticides, soaps, and household cleaning products. They really are everywhere, and this isn't meant to scare you or anything like that, but I can give you some tips to help minimize your exposure to them. So what's the big deal with toxins? The big deal with toxins is that they pass through our skin, they accumulate over time, and this has a huge impact on a woman's hormonal system. And when a toxin attaches to estrogen receptors, it causes havoc. It can cause things like endometriosis, ovarian cysts, and uterine fibroids, which again is another reason why you want to make sure you're getting your annual checkups. So what happens? There's too much estrogen coming in from the environment, and your liver isn't able to work as effectively. And when that happens, our liver is the #1 organ that's responsible for processing estrogens. So what's a hormone disruptor? What's an endocrine disruptor? What are they, and why are they causing havoc to our systems? So endocrine disruptors are chemicals that interfere with the production and activity of metabolizing hormones. Here are just a few top disruptors we're going to talk about today. There are many of them, and for extra information on this, you can definitely go to www.ewg.org, that stands for the Environmental Working Group. And so here are some top disruptors: BPAs, also known as bisphenol A, phthalates, fire retardants, and organophosphates. So BPAs. How many of you out there actually drink from water bottles, plastic water bottles, or use cans on a daily basis? Where either filled with beans or various vegetables. So what keeps those cans fresh is the lining in there. It's the BPAs. It's also found in your plastic bottles. One way you check this is check underneath your water bottle and see if it's marked with a 3 or a 7. If it's marked with a 3 or 7, you definitely want to make sure you're looking for a different container for your water. Receipts. You wouldn't think about this. Many of us, especially on the holiday season, you're buying a lot of things and you have so many receipts in your purse, you're touching it. That lining has BPAs in it. There are some companies out there, though, that are starting to be much more health conscious and environmental conscious. I was looking at a receipt I had recently, and it was from a home good, and it said that it was a BPA-free receipt. So that's good to see. And so the reason why we're so concerned with BPAs is because it's linked to reproductive issues: obesity, early puberty, heart disease, and cancer. I even have a little section right here on some plastics to avoid, and that's the numbers 3, 6, and 7. So what are some ways you can do to minimize your exposure? You can go fresh, buy vegetables that are fresh in hand. You can skip the receipt. A lot of places now are opting to have you email a receipt, so that's helpful. Drink from glass containers, and don't ever microwave food in plastic containers or put them in your dishwasher, because once they're in the dishwasher or they're in your microwave, what happens is that heat goes ahead and reactivates that, and you're going to end up eating it, and it goes into your system. So here is I want to just keep this very top line. It's not important that you know the molecule, but you just understand the effect. And I wanted to show you what a molecule of BPA looks like and a molecule of estrogen, because they're very similar in structure. So if you were to just get an idea, if you would take the same print, let me go back here. If you would take the same print of BPA molecule and put it on top of the estrogen molecule, you can see how similar that they look. I'm going to break this down even further. So here's what's happening. To break this down, what you have here, think of this as a lock and key analogy. What you have here is the purple disc as being in the receptor. It's the lock. And the green and orange structures are keys. What this is showing is that the green key, which is an endocrine disruptor like BPAs, this gets put into the lock, which is the receptor, the areas, and it looks just like a natural hormone like estrogen. So both keys turn the receptor on in this way. And what happens is that the body can't decipher which key is which. And the only difference is that when BPA opens, the key opens up this lock, it's going to open up unwanted effects. And you definitely don't want this key opening up these areas in your body. So it's like a good key and a bad key, and both open the same door. But you definitely want to avoid BPAs so that you don't have the unwanted side effects, especially with how it's linked to early puberty and other issues and concerns. Here's another endocrine disruptor, phthalates. So phthalates affect us even more because we're putting this on our skin, and you can't get any closer than that. Putting it on your skin, whether it's consciously or unconsciously, I mean, a lot of us out there, a lot of ladies wear makeup, we wear perfume, we use lotions, they all have added fragrances. And I'm not telling you to stop wearing these items or putting them on your skin, but there's a lot of health companies out there that are concerned about it too. So just be mindful of that when you're putting that on your skin, especially since skin is the largest organ in our body. So where are phthalates found? They're found in plastics, they're found in food containers, children's toys, plastic wrap, clinical labels number 3, detergents and shoes. They're also found in medications, dust, personal care products, which we talked about, like shampoos and conditioners and cosmetics, and again, anything with added fragrance to it. So here are some simple ways to minimize your exposure. Number 1, you want to make sure you keep your shoes out of the house. You don't have to keep them outside of your door, but you can make sure that when any visitors come, you can keep them right at your door. It's because of the dust and all the toxins that come in. Think about where you're wearing your shoes. You're wearing them out everywhere. You're stepping things. You want to bring it into your house. You want to make sure you change your air filters or even have an air filter. There are a lot of patients out there who won't even open up their windows because allergy season, but because they're not opening their windows, what's happening is that the inside air is actually very toxic. So you want to make sure you have an air filter and change air filters. Again, here you use glass containers. You can use Pyrex dishes. You can use old mason jars to drink water out of. Anything like that to limit your exposure. And you can also use phthalate-free personal care products. EWG.org has on their site a skin deep session. So one thing that you can do, ladies, is you can actually put your different detergents. You could put your various makeup products on there, and it'll grade it for you. It'll give you A, B, C, and D, and even colors like green and red. Green, so say, go ahead, continue using the product, or maybe you should try something else. Fire retardants. So there's really no escaping fire retardants. They really serve their purpose for safety. And it's funny because my husband actually just ordered a luggage, and it came from California, and there was an insert in it that said, your luggage contains fire retardant chemicals which are cancer causing. So there's just some things you can't get around. Just be mindful of where you're placing these items. Put them in a garage or a storage room. And it's a little bit like thank you for warning me about that this product can actually cause cancer, but no, thank you to cancer. So fire retardants you find in clothing, all of your clothing, in pajamas. Sometimes you can even smell some of the chemicals that are close. Even in shoes too, your furniture, in mattresses, farm salmon, indoor dust. And one way you can minimize your exposure to this is you can vacuum with a HEPA filter, or you can avoid reupholstered foam furniture. Again, fire retardants have a place, but there's some things you could do to minimize your exposure to them. Organophosphates. So again, EWG. Organophosphates are commonly sprayed on they're pesticides which are commonly sprayed on your vegetables and fruits. And so one thing that you can do is you can buy organic fruit and vegetables, specifically these that are listed by EWG. Every year they have a new list out that tells you what are the 30 dozen fruits and vegetables. And so these are the ones that you want to buy organic. I hear so many patients say, organic's so expensive. I give them this list to help them figure out which foods that they can afford to buy organic. So things like apples, peaches, nectarines, strawberries, grapes, celery, and spinach, sweet bell peppers and cucumbers, cherry tomatoes, potatoes, hot peppers, and kale. Those are all definitely things that you're going to want to buy organic. And one easy way to remember this, especially if you don't carry this card around you or if you don't have your own look up the list, just think about, number one, what's in season, but also it has a thin skin to it where pesticides can easily get leached into. So things like a banana or a mango, those aren't things necessarily that you have to buy organic. Of course you can, but you want to do things with the thin skins. Okay, so we live in modern society stress. We live in an increasingly stressful society, and this puts a lot of stress on our glands, causing adrenal fatigue and exhaustion. And when you're in adrenal fatigue, or when you're constantly in a stressful mode, your body is constantly in a fight or flight mode. So we really want to understand, what is this stress doing to my body? How is this affecting me? It's being able to change the trend. Everything isn't a fire alarm to you. Being less reactive. Be aware of what causes stress and the best ways to respond to it. There are actually 5 ways we often get stress, and they're called the 5 F's. And it's called fight or flight, which we talked about, freeze, fornicate, and feed. And the feeding will definitely add to the pouch that we talked about earlier. And one thing that I'll talk about is, what's a creative outlet for you? Does it help to journal? Does it help to write? Breathing exercises like 4 square breathing, yoga or meditation, all these things to help lower your stress. You want to make sure that as women, you take care of so much, whether you're working full-time or part-time, whether you're raising children. all of those things. Don't forget to take care of yourself during this time. Make sure you have an outlet, getting out there with family and friends, and have a supportive support system. And believe it or not, there actually is a demographic that has fewer health complaints. And really Japanese and Asian women, and the basis is because of their higher smoke consumption. So it's known that Asian women report fewer hot flashes than women in Western society. So that's something to think about for sure. Okay, so here's just a couple of things that we had mentioned. You know, why should I see a naturopathic doctor? And the goal really is to individualize. As I mentioned earlier, many women go through menopause and perimenopause, have PMS symptoms very differently than other women. And the goal really is to individualize, to see somebody who understands your symptoms. And when you see a naturopathic doctor, they'll understand, they'll find, they'll go ahead and assess your symptom severity. And they'll understand what's going on. And there are various labs you can do also for everybody. Labs aren't always going to be the one thing that you want to go to and check. But again, if we correlate your symptoms with labs and try to explain to you what's going on with your system and with your body, that's always helpful. The big emphasis, which I talked about earlier, especially when it came to perimenopausal symptoms, making sure that your diet is right, making sure that you're eating whole foods and vegetables, really decreasing the amount of sugar that you're eating, as well as the refined carbohydrates, which are so easy to snack on. Also making sure you have enough protein in your diet. Some simple things like exercise. Exercise is definitely something that a naturopathic doctor or even a nutritionist is going to tell you about. Even for myself, I didn't realize how important exercise was until I saw a nutritionist myself, and she literally said to me, the food that you're putting in is as important as the exercise that you're giving to your body. And that really hit home for me. And making sure that you have the right nutritional and botanical supplementation to help have you be as balanced as possible through this this change in this roller coaster process, which could be much more easily managed, especially when you have the guidance and the help for it. And like I said earlier, please make sure you check in with your doctor often, especially during this time frame. There are so many symptoms that each of us go through, especially during perimenopause. And you want to make sure, especially if you're a woman who's had ovarian cysts or fibroid mass, it's really important to make sure you're getting monitored during this time period. And so with that, I know that this was a lot of information, and hopefully you were able to get some key concepts out, perimenopause and just the various symptoms that go along with it. And I'm happy to answer any questions if anybody has any as well. So thanks so much for all of your time.
Thank you, Dr. Manapot. We would like to get started with a few questions. If you do have any questions for us, we've had a few come in through the questions box, but please go ahead and ask your questions now. The first one that I would like to ask you is, what are good supplements to take for hot flashes?
Good supplements to take for hot flashes. Sure. I think, make sure that you go to your doctor and getting that. I think there are some really great perimenopausal supplements through LuckyVitamin, and as I mentioned earlier, I think black cohosh may be helpful if that correlates with your symptoms. Some patients have found that to be very helpful, but again, making sure that we make sure that your symptoms are treated well. So there isn't exactly one supplement that's great for every woman, and that's why it's really important to make sure you go talk to your doctor about that.
Great, thank you. The next question we have for you is, are there any essential oils that can be diffused to help with a better night's sleep?
Sure. So I think I don't often use essential oils very often, but lavender would be a great essential oil that you could put in a diffuser, and also chamomile. One thing that you might be able to do too is even if you don't put in a diffuser, you could even just put some drops of lavender oil in a spray water bottle and just spray your area with it. And even lavender pillows, that can be helpful for sleep too. Even valerian might be able to be helpful for sleep too.
Great, yeah, I also like to use some essential oils when I fall asleep, and chamomile is a great one. The next question is, can hot flashes be triggered by diet?
Yes, hot flashes can definitely be triggered by diet. You know, you want to just be aware of what you're eating. Oftentimes, things like spicy foods definitely trigger a hot flash, especially when spicy foods in general will already go ahead and rev up your system. So you just want to be aware of that. Making sure that you eat, especially during this time frame, eating more cooling foods would be really helpful. Taking a look at various fruits and vegetables, that would be much more helpful, especially during this time frame.
Yes, food definitely plays a lot of parts in, you know, the fuel for the body, energy, so I'm sure it has a lot of effects on this topic as well, too.
Absolutely.
Yeah. The next question is, is there such a thing as normal postmenopausal symptoms? As hormonal postmenopausal symptoms, and how can they be handled?
Sure, you know, I'm sure there are, you know, like as I mentioned earlier, every woman's body is very different. There definitely can be various postmenopausal symptoms. You can definitely have, in the chart I showed earlier, you can definitely see some bloating, some urinary symptoms, and also some women might even have hot flashes. If you are having those symptoms, though, again, it's best to go see your doctor. Maybe they can run some labs or some testing for that to make sure that your symptoms aren't more than what they can be. But yeah, definitely, every woman's body is different. So there's some women who don't even experience any perimenopausal changes. Some women have more than others. And one thing I always like to ask them is, when did your mother go through menopause? Because that's usually an indicator of how soon they'll go through menopause as well.
So we have two questions for you. How can you naturally restore hormone balance?
Wow. Okay. So that's a loaded question. How can you naturally restore hormone balance? Well, there's a few things. You know, we want to make sure when you go to your doctor that you get your hormones tested. And so if your doctor notices, you know, some changes with your hormones, there are definitely things that you could do for that. Without knowing a specific case or anything like that, it would be, you know, there are other things out there too, like bioidentical hormones that many women during the time will go towards. And, you know, that's each for each individual and what they prefer to use and what their doctor educates them on. So, you know, you could definitely do some things to balance your hormones already, just like what I said earlier. You know, making sure that you're getting rid of the toxins, minimizing your toxin exposure, you know, getting a good healthy diet, controlling, you know, the stress going on, making sure that you're exercising, things like that. They're all simple ways to balance out your hormonal system better. But without, I guess, specific lab or anything like that, that would probably be the best answer that I have for now.
Perfect. So those were all great answers to these questions. The last question we have for you is not really on this topic, but something that I think you can answer anyway, which is, what is the difference between a naturopathic doctor and a homeopathic doctor?
Sure. And, you know, both a naturopathic doctor and Dr. Wolf, you could answer this too, I'm sure. A naturopathic doctor and a homeopathic doctor, you know, both doctors, you know, care a lot about patient-centered care, and I think it's just in a different approach. So one way that I explain, you know, what it is that I do, I just tell a lot of my patients, or, you know, soon-to-be patients, I just have a lot of tools in my swag. And so that includes anywhere from, you know, nutrition, homeopathy, dietary consultations, hydrotherapy, homeopathy. So all of us are looking at the body as a whole. And when it comes to homeopathy, a lot of times, and homeopathy is a big part of my practice as well. It's a premise that like cures like, and using pellets and lactose pellets to help your body get back in normal balance. And so oftentimes, and homeopathic doctors, they really do focus on homeopathy. So a lot of times, homeopathic doctors may not want to try other things like supplementation or diet, and it really just depends on what's best for you, the patient, and with your doctor when you talk about that. So both are really about, you know, looking at you as a whole person and treating you as an individual, as opposed to just treating you, looking at your symptoms and, you know, giving you a supplement for every symptom that you have, or a remedy for every symptom that you have. So both take a lot of care and take a lot of patience and care with their patients, and hopefully that helps answer the question. Dr. I don't know if you have a better way to explain that.
No, that was perfect. Thanks.
All right.
I'd like to thank Dr. Manapon again. Please enroll in our upcoming webinars. Our next one will be how to boost your metabolism naturally. This Thursday, December 10th at 2 p.m., presented by Dr. Saman Razai. Join Dr. Razai as he covers natural ways to boost your metabolism through diet, nutrition, exercise, lifestyle modification, and sleep. We'll also show you ways to maximize the effect of these lifestyle topics. This is a great webinar coming up on Thursday, perfect for the holidays and to start the New Year's. To enroll, go to www.LuckyVitamin.com and search webinar in the search bar. I would like to thank all of the Lucky Vitamin customers and Dr. Manapon for joining us on today's webinar. Have a good day.
Thank you.